Hello, everyone, and welcome to Almost There, a twisted tale novel here on Disney Magic Zach. This is the epilogue, the final chapter in our story here, and what a journey it's been. I just want to say a huge thank you for taking the time to listen and coming on this journey with me. This has been an amazing story, and I have no doubt that the epilogue will be just as exciting and just as interesting. So let's get into it. The epilogue here of Almost There. New Orleans, 1928, Mardi Gras. How's it looking out there, Mama? Like all the Mardi Gras revelers have converged on this place, Eudora said. A line of people waiting for tables stretches all the way to the French Quarter. You better put on a second pot of gumbo, because you have a lot of hungry mouths to feed. That's just the way I like it, Tiana said as she added up a few dashes of Tabasco to the pot. Her daddy's dinged up pot might not shine like the new copper and steel cookware in her gleaming kitchen, but Tiana refused to use anything else to cook her gumbo. She could barely hear the band over the din of the noisy kitchen, but she found herself rocking to the faint sound of the traditional Mardi Gras song they were currently playing. She requested their playlist include only the liveliest tunes. Tonight was a celebration, and she was determined to enjoy every single moment of it. Tiana's palace was filled to capacity yet again, just as it had been every single night for the past 2 weeks, ever since its grand opening. It truly was the place to be, with some of the city's most elite clamouring for a seat at one of her tables. Just the day before, the newspaper had published a front page story on the new restaurant that everyone was talking. Tiana's decision to employ an all female staff, save for the crawfish crooners, who would always have a place on the bandstand, was the type of thing that made news from Baton Rouge to Mississippi. Some were sceptical, but many others applauded such a unique idea. However, it was the food that had people lining up for a table. All her daddy's favourites were on the menu, and the people of this town couldn't seem to get enough. A reservation at Tiana's Palace was the most sought after thing in all of New Orleans. Annie Mae, can you watch the gumbo while I go out to greet some of the guests? Tiana asked her head chef. Sure thing, Tiana. You tell Mr. LeBoeuf that his oyster will be right up. After suffering from nightmares for months following her rescue from the Shadowman's dungeon, Annie Mae had taken some time to recuperate. She felt ready to return to work just as Tiana closed the deal to buy the old sugar mill she'd always dreamt of owning. The man the Fenner brothers had sold it to a couple of years before had decided to leave New Orleans, but not before enjoying an evening of good music and even better food at the supper club. When he learned it was Tiana who put in an offer the very same day it went on the market, he sold it to her on the spot. She never lost hope that the place would one day be hers. She felt it in her bones. And now it was. She would have pinched herself, but she already knew this wasn't a dream. This was real life, and she was embracing it all. Tiana untied her apron from her waist and went out into the grand dining room. It had taken a lot of blood, sweat and tears to get it to this point, but with the help of her friends, her restaurant looked exactly as she'd always imagined it would. She was still a work in progress when it came to relying on others to help, but she was getting better at it, especially after the experience she'd had with renovating this place. Naveen, Louis, Lisette, and Charlotte had been by her side every single evening, polishing light fixtures and refinishing the tables. Even Maddie, Georgia, and Eugene had come by a few times, sweeping and mopping and sanding down the floors. China started her rounds at their table. Georgia and the gang had a standing invitation to dine whenever they wanted to, no reservation needed. How are y'all doing tonight? Tiana asked. This place is hopping, Maddie said. I know Donald will be sorry you missed this. From what I hear, he's found good luck up there in Detroit. I'm guessing it won't be long before you join him up there, Tiana said. She winked at Maddie, who blushed like a schoolgirl. I'll send you all. Oh no, I'll see y'all a bit later. Don't leave without trying my newest creation, Mardi Gras beignets. They're covered with praline sauce. She left her old schoolmates and went over to Mr. LeBoeuf, who was holding court as usual. Hey there, Mr. LeBoeuf. Annie Mae said to tell you the oysters were right out. Although I really think you should try one of the other dishes for sides. Annie Mae makes a mean muffalata. Nope. He shook his head and cradled his ample belly. Bring on the oysters, Rockefeller, or oysters LeBoeuf, as I like to call them. Tiana laughed. Coming right up. She stopped by Mr. Savaggio's table to check in on him and his wife. Then she went on to Rosalind, who had joined Lisette that evening. The girl had really come into her own since she moved to New Orleans the past year. Mason Blanche had dedicated an entire display case to her products. People around town claimed that Lisette's skin cream was a perfect balm for skin burned by the hot Louisiana sun. Tia! Tiana turned at Charlotte's call. Her friend ran up to her and enveloped her in a hug. Oh, Tia, it all looks wonderful in here. I'm so happy I made it back from Baton Rouge in time for your big Mardi Gras celebration. What a perfect way to end this perfect day. Based on that smile, I take it your speech at the state capitol went well, Tiana said. Hope you gave them hell, Lottie. You know I did, Charlotte said. Charlotte's heart swelled with pride as she listened to her friend recount her impassioned speech to the state legislators on behalf of the Federation of Civic Leagues. Lottie had joined the group last year after organising a campaign to bring better conditions to the schools in communities like Tremé in the Ninth Ward, but she no longer limited herself to New Orleans. Charlotte had begun to travel around the entire state of Louisiana, fighting for those less fortunate. She had given up on finding herself a duke. She booked a passage on a luxury cruise liner to England, leaving after the Easter holiday. It took Tiana another half hour to visit the rest of the tables in the dining room, but she made it a point to drop in on each one of them. She was convinced that the key to a restaurant's success, besides the food, was the hospitality. Each patron at Tiana's palace knew they were appreciated. She returned to the kitchen to get started on desserts. A few minutes later, Eudora walked through the door. Do you need a rest, Mama? Tiana said as she drizzled praline sauce on the order of beignets she just made. No, baby. You know, I just stopped sewing to embrace the excitement of the restaurant business. Well, that's not the only reason you're here, Tiana said with a laugh. She rounded the cooking station and enveloped her mother in a hug. No, it isn't, Eudora said. She and Tiana stared up at the portrait of her daddy that hung on the wall, looking down over the entire kitchen. I'm here because this is exactly where he would want me to be, and it's exactly where I want you to be too. What did that man from the paper call you? The Queen of Tiana's palace? Well, he's right, her mother replied with no small amount of sass. Then she and Tiana burst out laughing. Ah, what's my two favourite ladies in New Orleans in such a good mood? Naveen greeted as he came upon them. Tiana turned around. The band taking a break? Only because I insisted, Naveen said. If it were up to Lewis, he would have us play non-stop all night long. That's because he's doing what he loves, Tiana said. After much soul-searching, Lewis had decided to remain in New Orleans instead of petitioning Mam Road to help him change back into a gator. He still took his boat out to the swamp every so often, just to be close to the place where he'd grown up. Naveen put an arm around Tiana's shoulders and pulled her into his side. I only have 10 minutes, so I want to make the most of it, Mother, he said to Eudora. If you don't mind, I'm going to steal my wife away for a bit. As long as you bring her back before the second dinner rush, Eudora said. I promise. Where are you taking me? Tiana asked. To the best view in all of New Orleans, he said. 5 minutes later, she and Naveen were standing on the railing of the restaurant's outside balcony. She stood with her back to his chest, his arms wrapped around her. Tiana rested her head back, listening contently to the beat of his heart as she watched boats of all kinds floating along the river, their lights twinkling among the waves. This really is beautiful, she said. Very, very beautiful, Naveen replied. She looked up to find him looking at her, not the river. He dipped his head and placed a gentle kiss upon her lips. Tell me, are you happy, my love? I am, she answered. So much happier than I ever imagined I could be. Not too long before, she would have maintained that no matter how well things were going, she would never truly be happy again, because her father was no longer with her. But he was here. She felt him every time she walked into the kitchen at this restaurant. She felt him whenever she walked into her mother's house in the Ninth Ward, or when she was in the house she and Naveen shared uptown. She felt him everywhere. And because she knew his spirit would always be with her, no matter how far she travelled or how long they were apart, Tiana now knew true happiness. She took Naveen's hand and squeezed it, taking in the view. She learnt a lot about letting go that past year, about not holding on to the past and embracing what fate had in store, about taking pride in a hard day's work, but also taking time to rest and find peace in the quiet moments of the day. Most of all, she learnt the importance of spending time with those she loved. She now understood just how precious time was, and that it wasn't promised. Another Mardi Gras, and once more she was forever changed. It was just as Rosalind had said, symmetry was the universe's way, and Tiana looked forward to what new transformations the future and she would bring. And that is that. What a fantastic story, and it's been a journey for us all. Like I say at the beginning, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of y'all who have been tuning in, week out, and just enjoying it. The playlist will be on the channel, and it'll be at the end of this video in case you want to check out, in case you have missed an episode or a chapter. I just want to say a huge thank you to every single one of you. And there will be a new one once this is finished. There will be a new one coming to you very soon. A brand new story on the channel, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy that one just as much as this one, and I cannot wait to share it with you all. But thank you all so much for joining, and I'll see y'all in the next one.